Welcome back to another episode of the Rebel Talk presented by the Rebel Walk. I'm your host, Cam Wicker, and as always, I'm here with your other hosts.
Zach Moreth.
Today we have a very special guest, 2 weeks in a row with special guests here. It's going to be a little different of a pod. We have Joshua Pfeifer from Ole Miss football. He's a wide receiver on the Ole Miss football team. Junior here, went to Father Ryan High School in Nashville. Team MVP, is that correct? Your senior year, all region. Hauled in 4 touchdowns, 440 yards that year. Family history in football. Got family members played Division I football. We'll get into more of that later in the podcast. Played basketball and track as well there. That's what I see. And won the Park Stephen Memorial Scholarship this past spring with Joshua Aka and Jason Albritton. What's it like winning that award? Let's start with that. Kind of what did that feel like when you got gifted that award, Josh?
Yeah, that was awesome. I didn't grow up really an Ole Miss fan, so I didn't know all the things that they had and awards they did. But I remember I woke up the day of the spring game and I had a bunch of texts saying like, congratulations on this and this award and the scholarship. And I was like, what is everybody talking about? And then I looked, my dad sent me the link of it and it said that the coaches had honored me and Josh and Jason with it. And the cool part was really just seeing that the coaches were the ones that chose that. And it kind of just gave me the confidence I needed. And yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, awesome.
Josh. Just to stay on that track of, kind of high school and all that, you're constantly surrounded by football, football family. Just what's the sport mean to you growing up around so many people who are also playing it as well?
Yeah, so football kind of defines our family a little bit. My dad always has a bunch of sayings, and one of them's God, family, school, football, just a way to order our lives. And so obviously it's important enough to make that list. But yeah, sports in general is really everything that I grew up knowing and loving. And early on, I had success with it, just like my family. So we just rode with that. And that kind of just built me in the person I am today and just taught me to love competition and give glory to God. So,
like we said in the beginning, Josh just kind of grew up in a football household, like Zach said too. What was it like seeing your dad play football at a Division I level, your brother play, and also your grandfather too?
Yeah, so my dad, he's probably the best coach I had. He coaches me all the way up till high school and everything I did at New Sport. And luckily, he had some VHS tapes and all those of him back in the day. Got to watch him play a little bit, but just the knowledge he had kind of, I feel like, is what helped separate me early on, is like knowing the game more than the average kid would. And then having the two brothers, like even if we weren't in season, we're always out in the backyard, either playing backyard football or hooping in the driveway or something. So it was just constantly competition. But yeah, having them, and then my grandfather, like you said, he played at WVU. And so it's just a long line of football. And I knew I wanted to keep it going. I didn't want to be the one that stopped that train. So it kind of has a little fire and motivation for me.
Absolutely, Josh. And, we talked about your dad played at Eastern Michigan, but what kind of, they were involved in your recruitment a little bit. What kind of swayed your decision to eventually decide to go to Ole Miss?
Yeah, so the whole recruiting thing was just a wonder world. I mean, it was because of COVID. So it happened. COVID started the end of my junior year and then carried in still in the peak into my senior year. And the whole recruiting thing is, I mean, the way you do it is really through 7-on-7 camps and coach coming to you. But because of COVID, no one was holding camps. I couldn't go anywhere and they couldn't come to my stadium because only family was allowed. So that really kind of threw a wrench in everything. And that made me start worrying about everything. But luckily my first offer came in from Butler, and that was cool because I lived in Indiana for 10 years and I had known Butler, especially through basketball. But so that was cool to see that. And then Birmingham Southern came in, and I think it was like Memphis, Purdue, Ole Miss, and Eastern Michigan all gave me preferred walk-ons roughly like in the same time. And I didn't really know where I wanted to go there, but I was kind of thinking Eastern Michigan because my dad went there to continue that on. But he was telling me it was too cold up there, so I wouldn't want to do that. But and then Purdue, as I mentioned, I've lived in Indiana for so long, I was familiar with it. Almost went there, but it was kind of just farther than the other two and colder up there, so I kind of started leaning away. And then I went on unofficial visits to Memphis and Ole Miss, and I went to Memphis' spring game, and then the day after went to Ole Miss. It was a Saturday practice, an open practice, and just right when I stepped on the campus, just the kind of driving through nowhere, and then you bam, there's like Oxford.
Yeah.
Just the feel, like the home feel of it, and just the good like energy and vibe of it. Like, I don't know, it just felt like right away I was like, this is it and this is right. And just watching the fun they had at practice and the fun offense they had, I just kind of knew from there like I wanted to go to Ole Miss.
Awesome. When did you kind of realize that like you were going to play at the next level? Obviously, you grew up in a football family, but when did that come to like your realization? Was it the high school? Was it junior high? Was it when you were a kid that you were going to play at the next level?
Yeah, I obviously knew I always wanted to play at this level, and just kind of assumed that if it was, whether it were D1 in the SEC, a different conference, FCS, D2, D3, anywhere, I knew there was a spot that I could go play at. But I think the realization kind of hit my junior year. That's when I really started playing in high school, and I started like putting up numbers. In senior year, I just kept getting better, and I was kind of the point where I was like, I started believing in myself more and getting more confidence. And I was like, I really know I could do this. I just need a chance. And I feel like it's a lot of way for a lot of athletes, just give them the chance. But that's how I felt. And I certainly now, over the few years, have developed so much more. And right now I feel like I could compete with anybody out there.
Awesome.
Absolutely, Josh. And again, just now that you're here at Ole Miss, what sort of challenges have you gone through? I know there's been several different coaches and all that, but just as like a student athlete as well.
Yeah. I'd say before coming here, the biggest challenge was definitely COVID. And then afterwards now, I think a challenge is kind of the transfer portal because, I explained the COVID thing, but yeah, the transfer portal, you kind of size up and see where you are in the roster as the year goes on. And you're kind of like, all right, this guy's going to graduate. He's going to the NFL. He's leaving. And you're like, I'm going to move up to so many spots. But then in the offseason, they bring in a guy who's a senior, and it's not just freshmen coming in. So it kind of plays with your mind a little bit and knocks you back. But I've had to go through a lot of prayer and talking with God and a lot of trust in him, because once I like really started fully told myself, like, just control what you can control, put your trust in God and he'll take care of it. And even when I start to get worried, I just prayed that it would just take it away and just let me put my trust in him. And I really found myself I had such more positive attitude and everything. And I don't know if it was necessarily things started working out for me. It might've just been more that I wasn't worried so much on the negative stuff that I could really see the positives around me. And so, yeah, that's really what it is for me.
So before we go into like some more football stuff on Ole Miss and just 2023 and 2024, the upcoming season, I wanted to ask one more thing, just from someone coming from someone who graduated in that COVID kind of era where kids were coming out and didn't know what to expect in college football or just any sport in general. What was it like for you going through that 2020 process, being an athlete?
Yeah, it was rough. I think the biggest part that I hated about it was we weren't allowed to have any fans at our games. I feel like high school, that's like a huge part of sports. Yeah. It's just all your friends up there looking up in the crazy student sections. So that honestly was more of a downer to me than just all the recruiting stuff I talked about. But yeah, it was a downer. But luckily, we were allowed to still play. I guess that's the most important part. But yeah, that fan part probably was the worst about it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So before we hop into 2023 season, the historic season, and the upcoming well anticipated season for 2024, we're going to have a little short commercial break, 10 seconds long. We'll be right back with you. And we are back here talking about the 2023 season, just an historic season for Ole Miss. 11 wins, first time Ole Miss had 11 wins in the season. What was that season like for you off the bat? Just kind of what are the takes from that season, and what was it like just going through an historic season with that team?
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. There's a lot of big games we won, a lot of celebrating. But I think the biggest thing was, so a lot of people even talk about it for this year about, is the team going to mesh well, the chemistry, all the transfer and all that. I think that was our big positive, is because the year before that, when we didn't really perform like we should, went 7-5, lost in the bowl game and all that. I think the biggest difference in how we leaped into that historic season last year is that we all meshed together and really became a team, and it wasn't like individuals just trying to do what they want and get their own. It was really like we were playing for the team. And it's weird that like you can feel that like in the locker room and in the meetings, and like you can really, and on the tape you see everybody's like really playing for a common goal. And that's why I'm excited about this next season, is because I think we've even taken it to another step. So, but yeah, it was a lot of fun. Although that LSU game, one that comes to mind, but yeah, that was a fun year.
Absolutely.
Just diving into that LSU game, Josh, Trey Harris scores that touchdown. I think there were about 45 seconds left. What's kind of going through your head at that moment?
Yeah, it's kind of just like, because I've been through high school and college, just so many games where like it's been cutthroat, and then at the end I didn't pull out. And when he scored it, it was just kind of like, oh my God, like we're doing this. And I remember the last game, me and this assistant coach, me and him started standing there saying a little prayer, like, please just let this come out right. And luckily it did. But now that was cool to watch Trey, because all the work he puts in, and see that pan out for him, and that was really cool.
Obviously, the Peach Bowl too. You guys won the Peach Bowl, capped it off with 11 wins. What was it like to be a part of the Peach Bowl? What was it like to be a part of a New Year's Six Bowl? And kind of what's the goals of this year's team coming off that win from last year?
Yeah, that was an experience I always remember, because my freshman year here was the year with Corral, and when we went and lost to Baylor in a New Year's Six. And so I was so excited for that, and that kind of stung. But being able to go back there and do it even for a historic year for 11 wins made it even that much better. But that whole time, like I talked about how you could feel the locker room together, like that whole time it was like we were really on a business trip and on a mission, and you could tell we were having fun, but we really knew we were there to win that game, and everybody had their mind right. So it was cool to see everybody really lock in for it and then get the job done.
Josh, when you're like preparing for the Peach Bowl, how difficult is it knowing that the transfer portal's open and knowing that your coaches are actively recruiting, visiting different colleges, visiting homes, while still trying to prepare for such a huge game and such a good opponent like Penn State?
Right. Yeah. Well, first I guess we kind of have from the Egg Bowl to the bowl game, there's like almost a whole month in between there. So the first couple of weeks, it's more laid back, and it's kind of more just workouts and recovery and getting our bodies back. So at that time, the coaches kind of are game planning and focus on the portal, like you said. But once it kind of the 2 weeks out and it's getting really into practice and stuff, you can tell that they're locked in and they have their game plan. They're not focused on that. But even when they are, like every position has at least 2 or 3 coaches. Like for receivers, we have our head receiver coach and 2 assistants. So if 1 or 2 of them are busy doing something, you always have at least one that's ready. So if you have any questions, and they're all ball players, they all know the answers. So you can talk to them and you'll be good.
So getting away from a little preparation here and kind of just shifting towards a little more loose here. But the drip and the sip, obviously a little trademark there with the Ole Miss football team. Everyone kind of dresses up and puts the fashion runway on during the Walk of Champions.
Right.
What is that like for you going through that game day and for picking out an outfit for the Walk of Champions?
Personally, I love it because I grew up always kind of a flashy guy, and it comes from really my mother, most beautiful woman in the world. So, she's always got good fits on, has good style. My dad's an athlete, my brother's athlete, so they always had fits. And even like just going to Christmas or Easter Mass, me and my brothers are competing to see who looks better. So I had some preparation for it. But yeah, really most of the time for my fits though, it's kind of just a spur of the decision. Like Friday night or Thursday or Friday night, I'll just kind of look in my closet, see what colors are kind of going together, what looks cool, and I just kind of ride with it. But yeah, I'm a big fan of trying to show out for that.
I'll put you on the spot. Who's got the best fits on the team?
Me. Easy.
Yeah. All right, just staying on the topic of preparation, Josh, what is, it's Friday night mentally, how do you kind of prepare yourself and ensure that you get a good sleep, even though you're feeling the nerves of a huge SEC game day or whoever you're playing on Saturday?
Right. Yeah. Like earlier when we mentioned growing up, big sport and football family, that helped me be a very disciplined person. And I love a routine. I can't really function unless I know I have similar things I do every day. But yeah, they keep a structure nice. Like when you're in the hotel, you get like a schedule, what time you're doing everything. And there's really not a lot of time to mess around anyway. You're in meetings or eating meals, and then you have bed check. So you kind of just lock in, do your player test, drop your plays, and then go to bed. You know what you're focused on.
Love it.
You talk about that set schedule. Obviously, we know like the pro mindset that Kiffin's brought to this team, bringing in all the coaches with experience. What's it like at practice? What's that like routine like at practice? Is it an everyday thing and an everyday battle you have to go through?
Yeah, it's their pro mindset. You definitely can see it through our schedule and how we do it, because we start early at 6 a.m. You're in the training room, getting right for practice, and then right after that, you're getting taped, and then you go to meetings and going through the last practice, and then you go through the script for the next day or the day of, and then out at practice you do walkthroughs, and then you go through the whole practice, and then afterwards you'll go to treatment and stuff, but you're really on your own after that to take care of your schoolwork and personal life. But that's where the pro mindset kind of comes in too, because they put a lot of trust in their players, and at that point it's on you to come back and either catch jugs or whatever for your position. But it's cool because they preach a player-led team, not a coach-led team, which I've definitely been on teams of both. And for example, like last year was definitely a player-led team, and you can see when the players truly care about what they're doing and want to win, those are the teams that actually do win, because a coach could want you to win all they want, but if the players aren't sharing that common thought, then they're not going to win anything. So,
right. I mean, just on that topic of leadership, you played with Corral and Dart. What kind of stands out about those two quarterbacks to you?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the simple answer of leadership. They both, the way they can, like, when they speak, everyone stops and they listen and they know what they're talking about and they rally behind them. Obviously, that helps because their on-field performance is that good, and they're two of the best quarterbacks. I mean, you'll watch in college football, so that helps them. But yeah, when they speak, like, they care about the passion in the game. Like when they speak, they're not just saying it to blow smoke and like hoorah, hoorah. Like there, you can tell it's coming from their heart. Like they're really wanting to win. So I think that's what makes everybody listen and what makes them so great.
There's been some pretty good receivers here since you've been here. What's it been like, I guess, learning from those guys, and what's your relationship like with a lot of those guys like Jordan Watkins, Trey Harris, and even some of the guys in the past?
Yeah, our locker room's great, and our receiver room. Our meeting rooms are always fun. Everyone's laughing, and that's awesome because I've been in somewhere it's like kind of the two people. You have like groupings and cliques and stuff, and it's just kind of weird. But like in our position room, everyone's together, everyone's laughing, having a good time. But learning from them is cool because, like I said, there's a lot of football in my family, so I didn't know a lot coming in, but it was all hearing them tell me stuff, but getting to watch them like firsthand, visually, and like see them do it. It helped me learn so much more, just seeing how different releases Trey will do and how even when the defender's still there, you can still make the play. And J. Watt teaches a lot about how reading defenses, and there's a lot of routes where it's like options. You can sit down, break in, out, and in the meeting rooms, he'll like speak up and coach and help me in like what he would have done, let me know what he sees, and then next day on the field, go and correct it. So it's just like having 20 other coaches on the team with the whole receiver room. So
just again, staying on that topic, what's it kind of been like experiencing a new wide receivers coach in George McDonald, and what impact has he made on the wide receivers room?
Yeah, so coming in, I was very fortunate to have Derek Nix there. He's a great coach, great guy. I'm happy to see he's getting to go call some plays for Auburn and see how he does. Yeah. But he definitely taught me a lot because he's one of the most knowledgeable guys in football I know. But I was worried when he left because I knew I liked him and I didn't want someone coming in that I obviously didn't like. But no, Coach McDonald right away, the first time I met him, happy guy, smile on his face, cracking jokes, already talking about like where should all the receivers hang out and go, where's some like go bowling or something. So he's a real cool guy. And he one thing that I love personally about him is one of the first things he said was that I'm coming here, I know that all of you in this room are good and already great. So I'm not here trying to figure out if you can play. I'm just trying to figure out where one little weakness is and iron out the wrinkles. And he really instilled in me and made me believe that because some coaches really care about scholarship or walk-on, but he doesn't at all. He said that some walk-ons have been his best players, and he kind of instills that in my head to keep me going and keep pushing. So that's a very, very good thing for me mentally because football, even though it's very physical, it's like 80-90% mental. So yeah, he's been a great addition to me.
Sticking to that relationship with coaches, what kind of relationship with Kiffin like? What was that first interaction with Kiffin like? How did that go?
Yeah, he's a very quiet dude. I know social media wise he's kind of vocal, but like in person he's more quiet. But I guess my first interaction was when I committed. I texted him, Levy, the OC at the time, and Derek Nix, just that I'm coming, and I was excited and all that. And he had texted me back and with a great message, like excited to work and all that. So just seeing that text come through, and I looked down at my phone and said Lane Kiffin, I was like, oh shit, it's kind of real. Like this is really kind of one of the first moments I was like, all right, I got to lock in. Like I got one of the best coaches in college football texting me. But no, he's a cool guy. He's always cracking jokes in the team meeting rooms, and he always has a good personality to him. But yeah, he is a quiet dude.
Last thing for me here, Josh, if you could pick one game to kind of redo and watch over again, that was your favorite, what would it be?
Probably the LSU game we were talking about with the field storming and everything. Another one was probably, I think it was my freshman year when, and Texas A&M came to us, and it was a night game, and it was on College game day, and just that Walk of Champions was unreal. Like walking through that, I felt like I couldn't even feel my body. That was nuts. And then just all the light shows they had and everything, we just dominated, had a great game. It was just a fun time. But definitely that LSU game's first. That was unreal.
Last thing for me too, and then we'll end with your brand. What is like life after football like for you? I know everyone's not an athlete forever, so what's it kind of look like for you? What's the goals in after college and after football?
Right. Yeah. So that's always a weird thought for me because football is all I've ever done. So it's kind of weird to think that at some point in my life I won't be playing. But obviously, like you said, it's got to happen. So whenever that's done, I've always, since I was little, wanted to be a coach. That kind of came through just playing and having my dad coach me and seeing the impact he had on me. But nowadays, I mean, it's always kind of been like this, but especially now, I feel like coaching in college, it's you kind of move around a lot, and I do want to have a family, and that could, kind of contradict with each other. But definitely that's still an option. But if I don't go that route, that's kind of why I've started up this, my new brand, Prayer and Praise, which is this shirt. As like I said earlier, that motto of God, family, school, football. When I thought about things I wanted to do, I just thought about the things I love, and that's it. And God's obviously first. And I always knew I wanted to do something to praise him for everything he's given me and bless my life and family for. So that's why my dad's he runs Coliseum Athletics. It's in a college apparel company. So I was like, this works out perfect. I can incorporate God and have him help me with apparel. So I started this brand, and it's just trying to have my way to give back. And we've done a soft launch kind of with it, getting the shirt out there. But hopefully this fall, we're going to have a lot more stuff and have a website or a launch that people can sign in and buy some stuff. But I'm real excited about that.
That's great. Obviously, like he said, you can see the logo right there. That's his brand, Prayer and Praise. I think that's all we got for you guys today. Like this wasn't the normal podcast that we usually do. We're usually breaking down Ole Miss sports, but it's letting you guys get to know Josh a little bit, getting to know a little bit more about him if you didn't know already. But yeah, I think that's all we got for you guys today. Just make sure to tune into the rebelwalk.com for all your Ole Miss sports needs.